Hi everyone, welcome to class today. So today we are going to do Chaturanga. It's a very familiar pose. We do it in almost every yoga classes, but it's also a very hard pose in yoga. So we're going to look deeper into the details of Chaturanga, and then we will apply into crow pose and tripod headstand. So you will need 2 blocks, or if you have 6 blocks, going to prepare 6 blocks to support you in the tripod headstand. A strap and a thin pillow or blanket so that you can support your head later in tripod headstand. So at first let's sit down and we will talk a little bit about Chaturanga. As I have mentioned before, this pose is very familiar to Vinyasa yoga classes nowadays. But to me, it's one of the hardest yoga pose because you have to hold your body weight in that position. So it's normally what we see is that people do Chaturanga too low. When they just bring your shoulders very low like this. So basically that action is when you're doing this. So you can see that it's not very stable for the shoulders because they are overusing the front and the top of the shoulder. And normally in daily life, we already use a lot of the front and the top of our shoulder in activities like carrying stuff or typing in the computer or reading in the phone or such. So we don't want to make that action again in yoga. So what we aim to do is to externally rotate your shoulders so you bring your elbows in as you bend your elbow. And by doing so, you are activating the muscles on the back side of your shoulders or the rotator cuff. So they're located here. They're right on the opposite of the pec, the muscle that we overuse. Right, so we don't want to bring your shoulder forward, we want to bring it back and down. So you have long neck here. And now you're activating the muscles on your shoulder joint on both sides, front and back, and that's much more stable. So we will look like this in Chaturanga. You can try this shape and stay here and really try to bring your shoulders down. So feel this shape, and then there will be another problem is that people will be too arcing. They're bringing their shoulder blades too close to each other. So let's hug your belly in and maintain a neutral spine. So in Chaturanga, your spine is neutral. It's only that your shoulder blades go down and they don't go in or they don't go further away from each other. So you'll be here. Let's try this pose, and if you feel like you are into a back bend, hug your belly in, get out of the back bend, bring your elbows low and squeeze them toward your body. So this will be our Chaturanga. Alright, so let's start the class laying down on the floor with your feet on the ground. Bring your hands on your belly, close your eyes. Take about 10 breaths here, really long and slow. Inhale fully and exhale completely with your belly squeezing toward your spine. Pay attention to your belly. Every time you exhale, squeeze your belly button toward your spine. For 3 more breaths. And then slowly open your eyes. So now you're going to lift your heels up, so only your toes will be on the floor, and walk your toes a bit further away. But try to keep your spine on the floor. So you squeeze your belly in and really keep your lower back on the floor here. And then bring your arms over your head. But don't put your arms on the floor because that may bring your lower back up. and make your belly into a relaxing position. Bring your arms over your ears, but not on the floor, so your spine will still be on the floor. Check in with your spine and make sure that there's no gap between your spine and the floor. It's pressing down very much, and you should feel your belly working already, even before we do anything here. So inhale here, and exhale. I want you to point your toes, squeeze your heels to your butt, squeeze your knee to your chest, and then lift your shoulder blades off the floor so that you can put your armpit into your knees. Inhale, go down, still pressing your spine down to the floor, and exhale, go up. Inhale, go down, and exhale, bring your hips and your shoulder blades up. So do you recognize this shape? This is crow pose. Inhale and exhale. We're going to do 2 more rounds. Inhale and exhale. And one last time, inhale. Try to bring your knee as close to your armpits as you can. And slowly get out of this pose. Wow. It's kind of warm up and we remember this shape. So let's do this a second time. And this time you're going to straighten your legs and bend your knees. So you're going to keep your hips still, keep your lower back still on the floor. Press your belly down already. Shorten your belly. Lift your knees off the floor. Or you can choose. So we're going to go from here. Or you can straighten your legs. So when you straighten your legs, make sure that don't be too low because your spine may be lifted off the floor. And then you will not be focusing and targeting on the belly. You will be overusing your back muscles. So for me, here is the right place for me so that I can still keep my back on the floor. Let's do 5 times. Bring your arms over your head and make sure that all your spine is still on the floor. Point your toes, inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, second time, third time, exhale. And then inhale. Try to put your knee higher and higher into your armpit. Inhale and point your toes all the time. And exhale. Okay, very good. Whoa, that's a lot of belly workout for me, only 5. So stay here for a while. Inhale deeply. And exhale. For 2 more breaths. Inhale. And exhale. And 1 more breath. Inhale. Exhale. And let's bring your knees toward your chest. Hug your knees in. Rock yourself from side to side, back and forth. And slowly get out of the pose. And into table pose. So from table pose, cat and cow. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. We're stretching the belly so nice. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. And 1 more time. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. Then let's come to table pose, so between cat and cow. We try chaturanga with the blocks. Put 2 blocks. Or you can build up the 2 piles of 6 blocks to support you. Make sure the blocks are slightly smaller than your shoulder, just very slightly. Put your hands behind the block so that your middle finger will be touching the back side of the block. And your hands will be as wide as your shoulders. Now let's move your shoulder forward and put them down into the block. So if this step is very hard for you, start on the floor with your belly and bring your shoulders on the block like I'm doing here. Then lift your belly up and come closer. So now the blocks are supporting you into your shoulders. Now you have time to squeeze your elbows in and check your hands. Make sure that your thumbs and your index finger are pressing down to the floor. Move your shoulder back, which means move your head forward. Have a long neck here. There's no pressure on your neck in this pose. And squeeze your elbows in. So imagine chaturanga, you are very tight, the whole body. think of someone pulling your head forward and pulling your heels back. So you can start pushing one heel back and lift that knee off the floor. Make the knee so strong, lock your knee that your leg will not fall onto the floor. And then maybe the other leg too. Squeeze your legs together and make your legs so tight. Feel the strength coming from your thighs and your belly. Take one more deep inhale. Check everything, make sure all your hands are sticking on the floor, and then knees down to the floor. Take a breath here and see if you can press through the floor and push up into table pose. And sit down and give your arms some nice swinging movement. We're going to try this again. So remember, your arms will be here in Chaturanga. You can do that one more time with me. 90 degree in your wrist, 90 degree in your elbow. And your shoulder will not be going forward. Bring it back. No back bend. Hug your belly in, neutral spine. And squeezing your elbows in. Right, so feel where your elbow is squeezing in now. To me, it's like somewhere in my lower rib cage. That will be where your elbows touch you in Chaturanga. So let's try it one more time. Hands behind the block. Move your shoulder forward. Bend your elbows. Put your shoulders on the block. Squeeze your elbows in. Check your hands. Make sure that your thumbs and your index finger are on the floor. It's very easy that this part is lifted off the floor and that's unstable for your wrist. And then your legs. So push your right heel up and back. Make your right knee very strong. And then do the same to your left leg. Try to squeeze your legs toward each other. Squeezing, squeezing. Take a deep inhale. And maybe bring your heels even further back and bring your head forward. Check in with your hands. You cannot see anything at all, but make sure you can feel everything. And one more breath. Bring your knees down. Take a small break here before you push down to the floor, especially through your index finger and your thumbs into table pose. Sit down and relax. Hold your hands and give your hands some nice and relaxing movement. So to me, Chaturanga is one of the most difficult and also important yoga pose. Once you have mastered the arms in Chaturanga, you will do other arm balancing yoga poses because Chaturanga is like the foundation of other arm balance yoga poses. They have the same arms. Right, so let's move the blocks to the side and we're going to try Chaturanga this time with the strap. We're going to make a loop with your strap. So you find the tail of the strap, you bring it through both rings and then bring it back and bring it through the second ring on your way back. And tighten the strap so that the loop is slightly smaller than your shoulders. So slightly smaller than the shoulders. We are going to wear the strap on the top of your elbows, so on your upper arm right above your elbow. And now the strap should be up underneath your chest. So it's supporting me in my rib bones, right underneath the chest here. Okay, so let's bring your hands down to the floor. Keep your hands on the ground and make sure that the inside of your hands, which means thumbs and index finger, are pressing down to the floor. So it's very easy for us to do this, but this will create unequal force on your wrist and it's not so healthy. Actually, not healthy at all. Press your thumb and your index finger in, move your shoulder forward and bend your elbows and put your rib cage under your chest on the strap. Oh. So now you are here. And then you can try the full Chaturanga from here. Step one foot and the other foot. Make your legs so strong. Imagine you don't have to use your arm to hold your legs. It's your leg strength that are holding themselves. And then knees down to the floor and go back. Oh, okay. Want to try one more time? So this variation is a bit hard to breathe because there's a strap that is tightening you. But I think it's a good one to learn Chaturanga. So move forward and put the strap underneath your chest. Chaturanga should be your shoulder as high as your elbows. Point your toes and squeeze all your legs muscles toward your leg thigh bones. And then get out of this pose. Whoa, it was really hard. Move the strap out and give your hands some nice relaxing movement. Oh, this strap is cutting me into my arm actually. Okay, so now let's put the strap to the side and let's try the rear Chaturanga with your body strength. Hands down to the floor. Check your hands first. The foundation of the pose. Press your thumb and your index finger down. External rotation, turning your biceps and your elbow crease out. Now let's move forward. And by moving forward, you start feeling your elbows coming closer to your rib cage. Bend your elbows. Make your elbows touching the rib cage. And then push up. You can bring your knees back a little bit. And try this one more time. So shoulder forward, bend, move your head forward, bring your shoulders back. And push up. Oh ho ho. And then let's try full Chaturanga. So move your shoulder forward, bring your toes down to the floor and lift your knees off the floor. Take only one breath and then get out of this pose. Child's pose. Oh. So tiring, right? This pose is hard. Let's bend your elbows and put your hands on the back side of your shoulders and walk your elbows further and further away from you. And take a rest here. And slowly get out of this pose. Downward facing dog. Walk your heels on and off the floor and stay for a while in down dog. And then walk your feet forward toward your hands. Hold your elbows. Let your head relax in this forward bend pose. You can bend your knees slightly. And slowly stand up. Inhale, bring your arms over your head. And exhale, hands in front of your heart. The mountain pose. Close your eyes. Take a break here. So let's do sun salutation. Open your eyes when you're ready. Now let's inhale, bring your arms up. And for today, I want you to do external rotation. So bring your arms back a little bit and turn your biceps and your elbow crease up. So it's like your pinky finger is going up and bring your arms over your head. Oh, it's so much harder now, right? And try not to do a back bend. So keep your spine neutral. Try to reach your hands up higher and start feeling the stretch inside your underarm. Inhale and exhale, chair pose. Sit, squat down in chair. Inhale in chair and exhale, forward bend. Now you can keep your arms. Now you can release your arms. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward bend. And step your right foot back, a long step. High lunge pose as you inhale. Bring your arms up. Inhale in high lunge. Close your hips in. And exhale, bring your hands down to the floor. Push your hands down to the floor very much and bring your hand a little bit forward in front of your toes. Now your knee is on your armpit. I want you to press through the floor so much that you are going to pick your front foot up with your knee on your armpit, mountain climber, and send it back into plank pose. Now from plank, knees down to the floor. External rotation as you inhale, showing your biceps. and your elbow crease, and exhale, shoulder forward, bend your elbows, tucking your, squeezing your elbows to the side of your body, half chaturanga, and inhale, push up again into cobra or upward facing dog, and exhale, round yourself into plank and downward facing dog. Take 2 or 3 breaths in down dog and calm down with your breath. Mountain climber with your right leg. Inhale, bring your right leg up. Let's step your left foot a bit closer so it's easier for you to put your right knee on your right armpit. Try to squeeze your body up and push your hips up really high. Move your shoulder forward. 2 more times. Inhale, right leg up. And exhale, knee to your armpit. Move your shoulder forward, almost like in chaturanga. And the last time, inhale and exhale. So almost like chaturanga. This will be your crow pose shape. Step your foot right behind your hands. Fix your legs position so that we can go to high lunge. Ooh. Inhale, bring your arms up in high lunge. And exhale, keep your hips square. For 1 more breath, inhale. And exhale. Let's bring both hands down to the floor right in front of your toes. And step your back foot forward. So now let's raise your heels up high. And bring your hands a bit further forward so that your knees will be in your armpits. Press your hands down to the floor just like in chaturanga and open your fingers a little bit. So you know birds, it has very tiny legs. But it can balance on those tiny legs because the feet are spreading out. So we're going to do the same here. Press your thumb and your index finger down. And then keep this connection between your arms and your knees. Raise your heels up high. Move your hips up high and forward. Crow pose. Oops. So if you are putting your hands, keep hugging your elbows in and in and in. Doesn't matter today if you can pick your legs up or not. But if you can pick your leg up, squeeze your heels up to your butt and point your toes very much. Maybe you can do that on one leg and then change leg. Ooh. And then let's bring your feet down to the floor. Step your feet on your hands. Bend your knees slightly to do that. And relax your head. And then slowly release your hands. Chair pose as you inhale. And exhale, hands in front of your heart or next to your body. Close your eyes and take a long break here to calm down with your breath. And then we do the other side. So inhale, external rotation with your shoulders again. Turn your biceps up, point your pinky fingers up and bring your arms over your head as you inhale. Don't do a back bend here. Keep your spine neutral and reach your hands up higher and higher. Inhale and exhale, chair pose. Keep the same arm. Inhale in chair and exhale, you can release your hands down to the floor. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward bend. Step your left foot back, a long step. And now put your in high lunge pose. So stand up in high lunge, inhale. Stay here for 1 more breath and make your hips square by turning your back hip in. And exhale, hands down to the floor right in front of your toes. And now your right knee is on your right armpit. So try to bring your shoulder forward a little bit. So you start feeling your knee pressing into your arm and you can pick your front foot up into mountain climber pose. Point your toes and squeeze your heels toward your butt, then send it back into plank pose. Now plank, let's try full chaturanga. So at first turn your elbows out, external rotation. Press your fingers down to the floor, especially thumb and index finger. Move your shoulder forward and bend your elbows. Try to stay for 1 breath in Chaturanga. And then lay down to the floor. Ooh. 1 breath was strong and heavy enough for us. And then inhale, Cobra pose. Exhale, let's go back to the floor. Now we are going to push up to half Chaturanga from the floor. So tuck your toes down, keep your knees on the ground. Hands next to your heart, squeeze your elbows toward your body. So don't point your elbows out. Prepare your belly, squeeze your belly button up. And then push through your arms into half plank. And then push through your arms into half Chaturanga and half plank, full plank, down dog. Let's stay in down dog. Walking your heels on and off the floor. Step your feet a bit closer so that later when we do mountain climber you can touch your knee to your armpit. Always check in with your hands and make sure that the inside of your hands, which means your thumb and your index finger, are sticking on the floor. And then 3 times mountain climber with your left leg. Inhale, left leg up. Exhale, left knee to your left arm. Inhale up. Point your toes all the time and squeeze your heels toward your butt. Put your knee on your armpit. Move your shoulder forward as if you do Chaturanga. And one last time, inhale. And exhale, let's stay here for a while. In crow pose, you'll be this forward. And step your foot right behind your hand on the floor. And raise yourself up in high lunge. So inhale, high lunge. And exhale. 1 more breath. And exhale. Bring your hands down to the floor. Step your back foot forward. Raise your heels up. Bend your knees. So now your knees are already very close to your armpit. Let's put your armpit into your knees. And put your hands on the floor. So check your hands. Make sure that they are like Chaturanga hands. Everything sticking on the floor. Start moving your hips up and forward, just like in Chaturanga. Imagine your arms now, like in Chaturanga, hugging your elbows in. What happened in crow pose is that we're going to point your elbows out like this, but that's too much weight on the outside of your wrist. Hug your elbows in and in. If you can bring 1 foot off the floor, point the toes and touch the heel to the buttock and change leg. If you can do that on both legs, then awesome, you can do that. And then let's stand on the floor. Ooh. Chair pose as you inhale. And exhale. Take a rest. Oh. And now let's hold your hand. And then try to pull one hand away. So you use your right hand to push your left hand away from your left arm. And you do the same with the other hand. Make relaxing movement. Make wave or rotating. So do a lot of movement that make your hands feel relaxed. So let's do this 1 more time and we will start with the crow pose. So before we start the crow pose, I suggest that we do 4 checkpoints in crow pose, and I will guide you through these 4 checkpoints. But let's say we stand with your hands, so at first you have to make sure that all your hands is on the floor, including your index finger and your thumb. They have to be on the floor. And secondly is your elbows, they have to hugging in. Because what happened is we tend to be like this. So we have to hug in. The third checkpoint is that your butt has to be high. So you check that. And the last one is that your foot have to be squeezing up to your butt. Right. And of course your knees into your armpit. So actually 5 checkpoints. Hands, elbows, hips, knee and feet. Right. So we're going to scan through our body in crow pose. And let's do that. So let's raise your heels up and bend your knees in chair pose. Bring your armpit into your knees and bring your hands down to the floor. So first checkpoint is your hand. Make sure that they are sticking onto the floor, including your thumb and your index finger. Second checkpoint is your elbows, hug them in. Third checkpoint is your hips. Raise it up as high as you can and bring them forward. And fourth checkpoint is your knee. They should be on the top of your arm. And the last checkpoint is your toes. Squeeze them up and check through all those 5 points. Make sure you're hugging your elbows in and squeezing your heels up and up. Okay. And take a small break. So you can sit in a kind of yogi squat, or you can sit on the floor and bring your hands inside your knee and squat here. And then we're going through the sun salutation again with the mountain climber. Forward bend and exhale. Inhale halfway up and exhale forward bend. Step your right foot back, a long step. Inhale, high lunge. And exhale, hands down to the floor. Now let's put your hands on the floor and press very much so that you can do mountain climber with your front leg. Bring your front knee onto your left armpit. Pick your front leg up and send it back, plank. Chaturanga, exhale. Inhale, cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Make sure your hands always sticking down to the floor through all those poses. And now let's inhale, bring your right leg up. Jump your left foot a bit closer so that when you do mountain climber, bend your right knee. You can touch your right knee to your arm. 2 more rounds. Inhale. Make sure you bring your shoulder forward as much as in Chaturanga to touch your knee to your arm. And one last time. Inhale. And exhale. Keep your knee here. Step your foot right behind your hand. High lunge again. Inhale. And exhale, hands down to the floor. Step your back foot forward. Raise your heels up. Crow pose for 1 more time. So armpit in your knee. 5 checkpoint hands. Sticking your hands down to the floor. Elbows hugging in. Hips raising up and go forward. Knees on the top of your arms. And then feet squeezing your heels up and up. Focus. You don't have to look at me or anyone else. And listen to your own strength. And then we go out. So again, hands underneath your feet. Forward bend. Step your feet on your hands. Give your hands nice relaxing movement and think of your crow pose. And see if in the 5 checkpoints, what did you feel the hardest to control? Slowly get out of this pose and stand up. Inhale, bring your arms over your head. And exhale, hands to the side of your body. Close your eyes and stay here and take a break. Let your heart beat slower and let your breath cool down. Because the next thing we're going to do is again crow pose. So as I mentioned to you before, the arms and shoulders position in Chaturanga is the foundation of almost all arm balance. So in crow pose we have exactly the same arm. If you feel like it's too much for you and your wrist today, you can stop here. You don't have to do crow pose. But it's practice and do again and again that make you achieve that pose. Okay, so if you do crow pose with me, we're going to do the 5 checkpoints again. Bend your knees. At first, hands on the floor. Elbows hugging in. Knees on top of your shoulders in your armpit. Hips going up and forward, and eventually your heels, your toes pointing and your heels squeezing up toward your butt. So the 5 checkpoints. See if you lose any of the 5. Fix that. Control very much. Right, and then relax your hands again, so you can shake your hands, or you can sit with your hands between your knees. I'm going to take it slow a little bit here, so you can release the tension on your wrist. And then step your left foot back, long step, high lunge as you inhale. Maybe waving your hands a little bit again. And exhale, hands down to the floor right in front of your right toes. Press through your hands a lot and move your shoulder forward as if you want to do chaturanga. Pick your front foot up and send it back, plank. Chaturanga, exhale. Inhale, cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Always pressing your thumb and your index finger down. Make your legs stronger so that you feel lighter and lighter on your hands in down dog. And step your feet a bit closer so you can do mountain climber with your left leg this time. Inhale, left leg up. And exhale, left knee to your armpit. 2 more times. Inhale. And exhale. And one last time. Inhale. And exhale. Step your left foot to the behind of your left hand. High lunge as you inhale. And exhale, hands down to the floor. And step your back foot forward. So you can just take a break here, or you can try crowd pose for one last time. I'm going to do crowd pose, but it's optional. You don't have to do it. If you feel like your wrists are screaming to you, don't do. 5 checkpoints: your wrist, your elbows, your hips, your knees, and your foot, your feet. See where they are. Try to control them. And that's it for me with crowd pose today. Take a small break. So do relaxing movement with your hands. I suggest that we go. Let's sit on your right hand, so your right hand will be underneath your butt. And bring your head to the left side. And then change sides. So let's sit on your left hand. Try to put your left hand deep inside underneath your butt and pull your head to the right side. Bring your head further and further to the right side. Bring your body to the right side too. And slowly come back. How is your wrist? Right, mine feel better. So if you feel like your wrist feel very, very weak, I suggest you take it slow, because we definitely will do this again. And I suggest that you can buy a gym training glove or training wristband and cover your wrist. Okay, so because nowadays we do many, because nowadays the lifestyle of us nowadays make our wrist very weak. We're not used to holding heavy things or pushing heavy things anymore. So these things may be very much for your wrist at first, but I swear to you that you will improve. Alright, so take care of your wrist. Give yourself a hot shower after this and massage your wrist. So you can take a small break here while I'm going to do the tripod headstand, and you can watch me first. So first I'm going to do tripod headstand without any blocks. Remember last time we did with the blocks? Today we're going to do exactly the same pose. The pose that with your knees on your arm. Look like crowd pose but with your head on the floor, but without any block. So I'm going to use my favorite pillow. If you use a blanket or a pillow, make sure that it's not too fluffy and it's quite thin and not slippery. And I'm going to use this whirl. So one thing about headstand is that we are going to use a whirl only as a safety net, just in case. We're not going to use a whirl so that you can lean into the whirl. That's not the point. The whirl is here so that you will not touch it. But if in case you fall back, you can touch it and you go out in a safe way. Okay, so we don't want to touch the whirl. So we will be a bit further away from it. And now I'm going to do the 5 checkpoints, but this time my hands and my head will be in the first checkpoint. So I will bring my hands on the floor as wide as my shoulder, like in Chaturanga. And then my head will be in a point that will make a triangle with my hands. So my head will not be here. I will not be between my hands. This is not right. My head will have to be here so that it makes a big triangle, like a triangle with 3 equal lines. So my head will be here and I will put the top of my head on the floor. That will feel quite weird here. Right, so the first checkpoint, hands and head, triangle, and the hands is pressing down to the floor. Check. Second checkpoint, my elbows. So what I see is that people open the elbows out like this, hug them in all the time, just like in Chaturanga. And the next checkpoint is the hip. Let's bring the hips up, just like in downward facing dog, and walk closer. So now you start feeling heavier and heavier on your head. The next checkpoint is your knees. Put your knee here. And the last checkpoint is your toes. Point your toes up to the sky, squeeze your heel to your butt. And maybe you can do the same with the other leg. And always hug your elbows in, because if you don't do that, you will fall back. You cannot hold the pose. So by hugging your elbows in, you are bringing your hips up to be right on the top of your head. Tripod headstand is here. And to get out of this pose, go to child's pose. But keep your head a bit higher than your heart by supporting something underneath your head. And slowly get out of the pose when you are ready. Okay, so let's do that together. Okay, let's do it together. 5 checkpoints, check them all. So hands as wide as your hips. Hands as wide as your shoulders on the floor. And all the fingers are pressing down to the floor, including the thumb and the index finger. Check. Head on the floor and make a triangle with your hands. So your head will not be between your hands. Definitely not at all. Your arms will look like Chaturanga with your elbows hugging in. Check. Hips up and going forward. Check. And then knees on top of your arms. Check. And toes pointing up to the sky. Check. See if you can do the same to the other leg. And here you can touch your big toes together and keep hugging your knees toward each other and your elbows toward each other. And to get out of this pose, child's pose. And once you're ready, you can slowly get out of child's pose too. take in with your head. So if it's one of your first headstand, it may feel very heavy on your head. It still feels the same to me. It should feel here. So this will be the part you put on the floor. It's full of hair. Some people put the hairline into the floor and it feels very right. But it actually will make your head in this position when you're upside down. And that's not a healthy position. So we want your head to be neutral, like when you are sitting on the floor like this and not being upside down. So this part has to be on the floor. Okay. And now it feels very much, but after a while you get used to it. And also, it's a very good trigger point, I think. And also, actually, it feels quite good after a while. Right. So take a break here, and then we will do tripod headstand with the blocks. And I will show you how it looks. So this time, I will still use this. I prepare my 6 blocks. Here they are. If you don't have a pillow like this, you don't have to. Or if you feel like it's too unstable, then don't use it. 6 blocks. And the space in between should be enough for me to put my head in. So here we are. So you can watch me first. Even though you have the 6 blocks here, but you're going to still have the 5 checkpoints. And we have the 6 blocks here because we are going to raise your legs up. So we don't want to fall out or being too heavy and such, because we just want to practice the control of your body when you're upside down. So your hand will be right behind the block, just like in Chaturanga. You bring your shoulder down to the blocks and then you bring your head between the blocks. Oh, it's too small for me. So a bit wider. Okay, now. And make sure that the top of your head is on the block. 5 checkpoints. Hands pressing down to the floor. No gap between hands and the floor, check. Elbows hugging in, check. So what I see is that elbows are pointing out like this. In many people, keep hugging in, look at them and really make sure that they are as wide as your shoulders. And then hips go up and forward. Don't straighten your knees, don't lock your knees, so that you can bring your hip forward and stand on your toes. There you are. And then knees very close to your armpit and foot pointing up to the sky. So here we are, very stable here. And now if you want to go out, go up straight. Let's move one knee out of your arm and squeeze it into your chest. And then raise it up. Raise that leg up so high and go back and back until the other leg will go up too. And you can touch your foot into your thigh. And bring your knees toward each other. And here you are. So what happens if you fall back? You're going to hit the wall and go out of the pose safely. Look at your elbows all the time. Hang them in all the time. When you want to get out of this pose, bend the knee and put back into your shoulders and get out of the pose. Whoa. Stay here a little bit for your head to relax. Take very long time to neutralize your body. And slowly get out of this pose. So let's do that together. I'm going to do it with you this time. And again, we will not want to touch the door, but you know that it's there for you to catch you in case you fall. So in case you fall, you just hit the door and then go back. So quite safe, right? And when I was using this pillow, it was quite like cloudy, so it may not feel so stable. If you want to, you can use only your mat. But the thing is that you should not use only the pillow for your head, because then your head will be, your neck will be longer than your arms, and maybe it will crush your neck in. So if you support something underneath your head, you should support underneath your hands too. Unless that something you support is very thin, like a towel, then it's fine. You can only support your head with the towel. Okay, I'm going to do it with you. So you prepare 6 blocks like I'm having here. And make sure that there's space for your head in between. Hands behind the block as wide as the shoulders. So just like in Chaturanga, checkpoint number 1, your hands should be pressing down to the floor, especially the inside of your wrist. That part often lifted off the floor. And then head down to the floor, shoulder on the block. And your head, make sure that it's the top of your head and not the hairline. It's the top of your head. Right now, your chin is pretty close to your chest, so that later when we go up straight, your head will be like in a neutral position. From here, check your elbows, so don't let them go out, hug them in and in. And then next point is your hips. Let's tuck your toes, raise your heels up high and push your hips up and forward, up and forward. So now there's a lot of weight on your head. Your hands start feeling very light, but press them down. Your hands are like a brake to stop you from going too far away. Now check your elbows again. And then checkpoint number 4, your knees. It should be very close to your armpit. And checkpoint number 5, your heels very close to your butt. And there we are. Once you're here, let's bring one knee out of your arm, whatever knee, and hug it into your chest. Then straighten that leg up to the sky. Always check in with your hands and your elbows, the foundation of your pose. Bring that leg up so high that the other leg will follow, and then you can touch your foot into your other leg. So eventually your legs will squeeze into each other. Ooh, this is tripod headstand. Yes, and to get out of this pose, bring the knee down into your arm. Knees down to the floor, and there you are, safely out of the pose. I'm going to put my head higher than my heart because I have quite low blood pressure and I really need time to balance myself between being upside down and being upright. So take as much time as you want to stop, to rest from this pose. And slowly get out of this pose. Oh, how did you feel? Actually, I feel like this pose is even heavier, lighter for my shoulder and my wrist than in crow pose, because there's my head on the floor too. Okay, so let's remove the block. That's done for today. Right. Find your strap. Hold the strap with your right hand and bring it to the sky, and then bend your elbows so your strap will be behind you. The other hand, point your thumb down and bend your elbow so that now you're holding the strap. Sit up straight without a back bend, so hug your belly in. Gomukhasana, the cow pose. Keep reaching your hands to each other and close your eyes. Walk your hands closer when you have a chance and try to push your elbows back. And then let's slowly get out of this pose. Open your right hand out without the strap and bring your left hand with the strap over your head and change side. So Gomukhasana. Try not to let the arms pushing your head down. Sit up straight. If your arms are tight, you can hold the strap longer and close your eyes. And then slowly open your eyes and remove the strap. So the first time you do headstand, you may not be straight. Your hip flexor will be very strong and your body will be quite skeptical about what you're doing, that it will hold your hip flexor. So you may look like this. But that's okay, because after a while you get used to it and then you can be straight. So now let's go to a fish pose. I will use my soft block to do fish pose. Lay down on the floor with the block right underneath your upper back. And your head will be on the floor. So your legs, you can do a hip opening variation. Bring your feet together and open your knees out. And bring your arms out to the side or even over your head to feel this gentle stretch on your chest and your shoulders too. Feel the air coming in and opening the front of your body. And just let go of your shoulders and your arms. Let the gravity do all the job for you. If you like this fish pose, you can stay here for the rest of the class. Otherwise, you can turn to one side and move the block away. Lay down to the floor in Savasana. Any pose you choose to be in, fish pose or Savasana, relax and surrender to the gravity. Let the floor and the mat and the block or the pillow hold you. Take a lot of time here for you to cool down and unwind. You have been doing quite crazy things that your body are not used to do. So really need time to recover. Feel how your body is melting down to the floor instead of fighting against gravity. Take your time and be in Savasana for as long as you want. But I'm going to get out of this pose slowly. Have a good time in Savasana and recover very well. Later during the day, think of what you have done today, and it was really awesome. I will see you next time with more awesome things. Thank you very much, and Namaste.